Look, Atlanta Airport, one of America's busiest places, is now witnessing an unprecedented scene. There were no long lines lined up in front of the check-in counter, no rolling sounds of suitcases. All that remained was the space-echoing footsteps. It's hard to believe that this is summer in America in 2025. There are states that were once the dream destination of millions of people who are now sleeping, incredibly quiet. Hotels with empty rooms, amusement parks with no waiting lines. Cities that used to live on tourism now count every person who visits. Why does this happen right in the country once known as the world's dream destination? And what caused millions of international tourists to turn away at the same time? In this video, we will explore 10 US states that are gradually becoming deserted, where the number of tourists has dropped to alarming levels. We will learn the cause, hear the story from the local people themselves, and more importantly, see the glimmers of hope that still glimmer to revive them. All information and images in the video are compiled from public sources and are not intended to defame or damage the image of any state. The aim is to bring a multi-dimensional social, economic perspective and inspire positive change. Be prepared, as the last bang on the list will probably make you disbelieve your eyes. Have you ever been to Las Vegas? At one time, stepping down to Harry Reid Airport made you immediately get caught up in the crowd. The sound of the suitcase tractor rolling continuously on the floor, the faint smell of coffee brewed from the bars amid the rumbling music from slot machine. But now, try to imagine yourself clearly hearing each sound of your own footsteps echoing throughout the hall. Strange, right? NPR informed the Las Vegas Convention and Tourism Authority that within 6 consecutive months, Las Vegas has seen a sharp decrease in tourist numbers of nearly 400,000 people, equivalent to 11.4% compared to the same year. Last. This number isn't just a dry statistic, it's like someone turning off the lights in a glowing casino. But why did this happen? Has Las Vegas lost its appeal? Maybe you can also guess that Vegas is more expensive than ever. Resort fees increased, and the buffet, which was a specialty, now costs the same as an evening at a high-end New York restaurant. There are also parking fees, service fees, and it seems like there will be a fee for everything you do in this city. Suddenly, many people compared and realized, oh, with this money, I flew straight to Cancun, located at a 5-star resort, ate comfortably, and didn't have to line up at the entrance. Sounds reasonable, right? But this is the notable point. While Vegas tries to hold on to visitors with expensive shows, it is the high prices and the feeling of difficulty getting closer that make many people look elsewhere for fun. A small strip hotelier bluntly said, their bookings are down by up to 40% over the same period. And what's worth mentioning is, no one knows when that influx of visitors will return. But a little closer, Nevada isn't completely gloomy. If you take some time to explore, you will find unique ghost towns, the Cowboy Poetry Festival in Elko, or beautiful desert fields for photography enthusiasts. The state government is even promoting mining heritage tours and accommodation incentives to encourage visitors to leave Vegas and explore further. Some domestic tourists are looking to these desolate places to live slowly, to find the feeling of being alone in the vast space. Sometimes, emptiness is Nevada's new tourism product. What about you? Would you choose to explore an abandoned town full of stories, or stay in Vegas with bright lights? Leave a comment below this video to see if we think the same way. If Nevada has surprised you, then believing I'm going to the next state will make you even more open, a place that was once a symbol of America's blue sea. Yet hotels are massively empty in the middle of peak season. You know, when mentioning Hawaii, everyone immediately thinks of the blue sea, white sand, the fragrant wreath around the neck, and the welcoming aloha smile. But imagine, you just landed at Honolulu Airport. Before you could see the sea, you were called into the check room. Your phone was detained, your luggage was checked, and you might spend the night in a supervised place. Sounds like a movie story, right? But that was the real experience of an Australian female tourist this summer. The unbelievable surprise was not only for her, but also for those considering a trip to Hawaii. And you know, bad news spreads fast. Some hotels in Waikiki report summer revenue drops of up to 30%. For many people, the feeling of heaven is no longer complete when entering there, with the worry of being kept at the door. And honestly, when the world still has a series of beautiful beaches in Bali, Phuket or Maldives, Hawaii is competing in an uneasy race. I once talked to the owner of a small craft store in Kauai. She said, "Last summer, guests were so absent that I had to reduce opening hours in half." It's strange, in a place called Paradise, there are times when it's unbelievably absent. However, Hawaii still has bright spots. Eco-tourism programs, coral conservation, and traditional festivals are attracting groups of guests who want to experience the original Hawaii, without noise, without hustle and bustle. The state government is also offering preferential packages to attract visitors to less-known islands, instead of focusing on Oahu or Maui. And you know the surprise? Many local people like this solitude. They feel Hawaii has finally had a chance to breathe after years of overloaded tourism. A paradox, but also a question worth pondering. Does traveling really need to be crowded to be successful? And you, if you had the chance, would choose a party-busting Hawaii or a quiet Hawaii to hear the cooing waves in your ears? And if you find Hawaii's story has startled you, the next state is even more bizarre, where borders and trade have made casual travel more unpredictable than ever. Leaving the blue sea of Hawaii, we return to the mainland towards the eastern United States, where the Appalachian Mountains stretch endlessly. West Virginia, just hearing the name, saw the smell of pine wood, the sound of gurgling streams, and the melody of country music echoing through the valley. But if you set foot here today, you may feel a different sound, the sound of emptiness. West Virginia used to be a rendezvous for mountaineers, skiers, and hunters. In the 80s to 90s, tourist towns like Harper's Ferry or Snowshoe Resort were crowded with guests. Yet now, the number of tourists in the entire state is down more than 30% compared to 15 years ago. Many once vibrant coal mining towns now have only a few stores left open. Cause? Perhaps partly because the region's backbone mining industry is gradually declining, leading to a decline in the local economy. Unfinished motorways make access to tourist attractions difficult. And, let's admit, as the world of travel moves to all-inclusive resorts or flashy cities, West Virginia no longer holds a place on many people's priority maps. A former miner in Beckleytown said, "In the past, visitors came here to climb mountains and listen to us tell coal mine stories. Nowadays, not many people want to listen. They are busy looking for new things. But West Virginia is still beautiful in its own way. In the fall, the whole mountainous area changes color to yellow and red like a picture. Bluegrass music festivals and fishing sessions by Lake Summersville still await those who want to escape the hustle and bustle of life. Recently, the state has also opened ancient railway tourist routes to attract guests who love to explore history. And there's something that makes me think, perhaps for some people, the quiet here is not deserted, but a gift. A place where you can hear the sound of falling leaves more clearly than the sound of phone notifications. What about you? Will you spend a weekend immersing yourself in the mountains of West Virginia, or will you choose a noisy city with bright lights? If you think West Virginia is quiet, wait to see the next state surprise you even more, as the once busy desert-side towns are now reduced to the shadows of the past. Do you remember the first time you stood in front of the Grand Canyon? That moment choked many people. The red cliffs stretched endlessly, the wind blowing with the smell of the dry, roasted dust of the American West. But this year, if you come back, you may find something different. The trails are empty, the parking lot is empty, and the sightseeing buses are only half full. According to the latest data, tours from Europe to Arizona decreased by nearly a third, especially for groups. Part of the reason comes from visa integrity fee, a fee of $250 applicable to visitors from many countries. It doesn't sound too big on paper, but for a family of 4, that's $1,000 more in trip costs, enough for them to change direction to an all-inclusive vacation in Italy or Greece. And here's where many people are surprised. Even local businesses around the Grand Canyon admit they're catering more to American visitors rather than international visitors. But domestic visitors are spending less. A tour guide who worked for 20 years told me that this was the first time he had to find a part-time job outside the tourism industry to make ends meet. Think about it. If even a world-class natural wonder can't hold its charm, what's left for Arizona to hold on to international visitors? And if you think that only tourist states are struggling, wait for the next state, where the border is the point that causes the economy and tourism to slow down. New Mexico. The name just sounds poetic, right? But if you stop here in recent years, you will realize the fact that the atmosphere is as deserted as the highland towns at noon in the summer. At one time, Santa Fe and Taos were mecca for artists, photographers, and cultural travelers. But according to statistics, the number of international visitors to New Mexico has decreased by more than 25% in the past 5 years. Some small towns that once lived on the influx of people on Route 66 now have almost no more passengers. You know what? It feels like driving through these streets is like going through a nice old photo, but strangely quiet. Many people believe that New Mexico, being clouded by more famous neighbors like Arizona or Texas, has caused the state's tourism industry to falter. Others mention security issues in some urban areas, making tourists shy. Plus, the transportation infrastructure connecting remote tourist destinations is limited. Not everyone is willing to drive hours through the desert to a small town. The owner of a traditional pottery store in Albuquerque shared, "In the past, my store welcomed customers from Japan, Germany, and Australia. Now most of the locals stop by. Every item I sell, I feel both happy and sorry." But you know what? New Mexico still keeps for itself treasures that are nowhere to be found. From the ancient Pueblo fortress, Carlsbad Caverns, to the world's most brilliant balloon festival in Albuquerque. The state government is also stepping up campaigns to promote true adventure, to encourage guests to explore more deeply, not just one or two famous spots. So what about you? Would you accept driving for hours through the desert just to get to an old town, hear people's stories, and watch the sunset dye the horizon red? If New Mexico gives you a sense of calm and wildness, then the next state will take you back to the Midwest, where endless fields are now no longer visited. Illinois. Surely many people will immediately think of bustling Chicago, the skyscraper Willis Tower, or the streets on the shores of Lake Michigan with bright lights. But if you step out of that city just a few hours' drive, you will see a completely different Illinois. That is quiet, long, and somewhat lonely. Many small towns in central and southern Illinois have lived on visitors on their way to summer festivals or farmers' fairs. But according to statistics, the number of visitors in these areas has decreased by more than 35% in the past 15 years. Even some fairs that were once crowded now only have a few sparse booths left. If Chicago is likened to a large, busy station, the rest of Illinois is empty platforms, with only the sound of the wind whistling through the trees. Part of it may be because the younger generation left their hometowns to find work in big cities, causing the town to lose its vitality. Additionally, today's travel trends favor unique experiences or luxury vacations, something many rural Illinois have not yet adapted to. The fact that the new motorways allow travelers to cross these towns without stopping is also a factor. A woman selling pies in a town more than 50 miles from Springfield shared, "The day before, I sold out every weekend for a few hours. Now, one day I have to bring half the cakes home." It sounds both sad and sorry for part of the sweet memories of this land. But if you look more broadly, Illinois still has many things worth exploring if you turn onto small roads. Family farms that allow guests to pick their own fruit, cozy folk music festivals, and sunrise in vast rice fields. Recently, the state also launched rural tourism projects, combining local cuisine and farm accommodation experiences to attract visitors who want to live a few days late. And I thought, maybe sometimes this solitude is an opportunity. An opportunity for those looking for peace to find a place where you can hear the rustling of leaves more clearly than the sound of car horns. And you, if you leave the city one day, are you willing to stop in a small town, taste a pie made from a 50-year-old recipe, and then watch the sunset in the fields? Louisiana. Just mentioning it makes me immediately see the colorful image of Mardi Gras, the fragrant smell of gumbo, and the gentle sound of saxophones at night. But that's the story of New Orleans and a few big cities. Most of Louisiana, in addition to familiar tourist attractions, is quieter than you think. Data show that many of the state's riverside towns and small tourist areas have seen visitor numbers decrease by up to 40% over the past 10 years. Some areas that were once vibrant with seafood festivals or community events now have only a few stalls left. And if New Orleans is an explosive jazz number, then the rest of Louisiana is like a slow, long blues in the open air. Not too confusing either. Changes in weather, storm floods, and successive inundations in recent years have damaged tourism infrastructure. Many small businesses cannot fully recover from natural disasters. Plus, the state's tourism promotion remains focused on a few popular spots, leaving other regions as if left on the map. Still, Louisiana has much to love. Green marshes, ancient fishing villages, folk music festivals, and dishes are only here and are still treasures waiting to be discovered. Recently, the state has begun implementing eco-tourism tours through the swamps and country food tourism programs, helping guests experience Louisiana in a more authentic way. And interestingly, it is this solitude that creates the original Louisiana experience. It's not crowded, not commercialized, only people, food and music echo in the night breeze remain. And you, if you had the chance, would choose to squeeze your feet in the crowd of Mardi Gras, or sit at a small riverside bar, sip hot gumbo, and listen to an old artist play his own saxophone. If Louisiana makes you feel both regretful and warm, then the next state will take you back north, to a land that was once an industrial center, but is now quietly managing to find a new breath called Michigan. This state was once the industrial pride of America, the cradle of automobile manufacturing, and also a summer meeting point for millions of American families on the shores of Lake Michigan, Huron, or Superior. But if you stop by some of the current lakeside towns, you'll find another Michigan, quiet, deserted, and somewhat sad. According to statistics, the number of tourists in many areas outside famous destinations such as Traverse City or Mackinac Island has decreased by more than 30% in the past 2 decades. Many lakeside towns that were once bustling with sailboats and restaurants now have only a few that are open seasonally. This scene resembles a beautiful painting, but covered with a layer of time dust. Still shimmers, but lacks the rhythm of life. Partly because the decline in the auto industry brought with it a difficult local economy, causing many towns to lose resources to maintain tourism activities. The harsh winters also cause many lakeside resorts to close early. And like many other states, the modern travel trend of focusing on package destinations has caused long trips, stopping in small towns to be chosen by fewer people. But Michigan still keeps its treasures: the golden-leaved autumn on Lake Superior, ancient lighthouses, cherry festivals, and craft beer. Recently, the state is promoting four-season tourism not only in summer, but also activities such as skiing, ice fishing, or experiencing wooden cabins in the middle of the forest. And you know, for nature and quiet lovers, a deserted lakeside town in Michigan can be a gift where you hear the waves crashing against the shore more clearly than the sound of vehicles and watch the sunset dying red. The entire lake surface without anyone interrupting. And you, if you come to Michigan, Will you choose to stay in crowded resorts or go further? Find a deserted lakeshore to enjoy your own moments. Do you remember a few years ago, Los Angeles dazzled like a big stage in the world, where welcoming thousands of international tourists and film students every day was so normal? Now, stepping down to Hollywood Boulevard or Disneyland, you will see the void. Empty chairs, deserted sidewalks, crowded shops in the past. Now only the sound of the wind blowing through neon billboards remains. According to new data, international visitors to California have decreased significantly, especially from Europe and Canada. Groups of tourists who have kept a vibrant pace of life for resorts, restaurants, and amusement parks. Disneyland, entertainment icon that used to attract customers around the world, now $20 ticket, is still single. The long line that used to be a symbol is now only a few small groups pass by. What is most surprising is the fear. International visitors are concerned about strict border checks, stories about phone, luggage, or prolonged entry. Families consider, should I change direction to Paris, Cancun, or Tokyo instead of LA? So do you see that even the Hollywood dream is not enough to attract international visitors? Is there anything else in America that can keep that excitement? Will you walk through empty Hollywood or choose another paradise still full of sun and laughter? And if California has startled you, prepare the next state, a place that will take you to the Highlands, where a famous motorbike festival once shook the whole town but is now incredibly deserted. South Dakota is a name associated with the legendary Sturgis Motorcycle Festival, where hundreds of thousands of bikers gather each year. But if you come here outside the holiday season or in recent years, you will see a very different picture. So quiet that you can clearly hear the sound of pebbles crunching underfoot. According to data, tourist arrivals to South Dakota decreased by more than 20% within a decade, especially in areas outside Mount Rushmore and Badlands National Park. Even Sturgis Rally, which used to attract over 500,000 bikers, had a year of falling below 400,000 attendees. By comparison, it was like a stadium without tens of thousands of spectators. Cause? Rising fuel prices have caused many bikers to reconsider trips thousands of miles long. Some young people are less interested in long-distance travel and gather as many people as before. And for non-motorcycle enthusiasts, South Dakota is sometimes just a view and then spot on a journey across America. But South Dakota isn't just about motorcycle festivals. There are also breath-holding landscapes from the granite mountains of the Black Hills to the golden, grass-rolling valleys of autumn. The state is also promoting cultural tours by Lakota and Dakota indigenous people, providing a deeper experience for visitors. And there's something interesting. For those who love silence, South Dakota, outside of the holiday season, is a paradise where you can drive for hours on the highway across the plateau without encountering another car, just the wind and the sky. What about you? Do you want to join the sea of people with the sound of the engine? Or do you want to drive alone through the quiet highlands where it's just you and the road? If South Dakota has made you envision a picture that is both wild and lonely, then the last state on the list will take you to the land that was once an explorer's dream, but now struggles to keep visitors.